me.
We should talk about all the things sets you've been on.
Sets I've been on? Yeah.
With me when you were little. I mean, that one at the Phoenix Children's Hospital, you were like 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
And we strapped you to a gurney. We should be sponsored by Kia. Or you should be. This is your podcast.
Oh, God.
This chair is tremendous.
I don't want you to be too comfortable.
This chair is tremendously uncomfortable.
I'm just trying to...
What? That was part...
you just give me a hard time.
No, not at all.
I know what you're doing.
Not at all.
Oh, my back. Jesus. All right, Dad, welcome back
thank
to
you.
the Voices of Production podcast. It's nice to have you on again.
Nice to be back. Thanks for having me.
So we got a lot of good feedback from our last podcast that we had together. So yeah, I mean, what's new?
Well, what in particular? I mean, there's a lot. To me, things are always changing, right? Especially in our business, it's constant change. If it wasn't, I would not be here doing it. I've been doing this for over 30-something years now, and that's the one thing I love about this job is every single day is different. Every day is different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much that's changed with AI and like all this crazy stuff that's happening, you know, like social media. So it's kind of cool to like get your perspective on these podcasts because for me, you know, I'm younger and, you know, I tend to think differently than you, right? And I think the objective today of this podcast is I want to like pick your brain on more of like the fundamentals of marketing, because with social media, I think people are getting carried away in this like paradigm of like attention, and I just think the core principles of marketing are still there, and people are more just like going for likes and attention rather than, you know, actual goals, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you always have to ride the wave to a certain extent, especially as trends come and go. But the constants always run right through. And we've talked about this before. Good storytelling is good storytelling no matter what. It's been that way since the beginning of time, since the cavemen were scratching on walls. It's been good storytelling has been good storytelling. And the essence of good storytelling all has to do with evoking emotions. Yeah. Right? We are not here to show people how beautiful we can make a shot, although that's important, or how big of a word we can write to make it look cool. It's about evoking emotion and getting people to stand up and want to take action, whether that action is buying a product that you're trying to sell, or buying a service that you're trying to sell, or just getting them to take action as an activist or as a volunteer. Good storytelling is good storytelling. Now, how that is done has changed over the years, and I try not to get caught up in trends, but then you have to, I think it's important to be able to separate trends from the future. What is the future?
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's fads. There's fads that come and go, trends. Okay. Yeah. I always go back to auto-tune, even though some people still use auto-tune, and this is, you know, I'm talking about a fad or a trend. Everybody started using it. And then it didn't become cool anymore because it wasn't effective, because everyone was doing it and everybody could do it.
Right.
And I, being a musician, really looked into that and said, okay, when are instruments going to come back, for instance? And they have, and that's really because it's hard to do and it's effective. There's a reason that it's always been that way,
and
because they're very effective. Same thing goes into our craft and what we do. Things can come and go, and there can be clickbait. I think people have learned to recognize that.
Yeah.
But you know.
So wait, I have a question then.
Yeah.
That kind of brought up something for me. Do you consider what you do art? I think I know the answer.
Oh yeah. Do I consider what I do art? Of course, yeah. Art. I feel like the definition of art is anything that is created that evokes emotion,
okay,
and gets people to stand up and think and do and take action.
So that's great, because I had a conversation with Lucas Petty. So he's the AI daddy. That's his like name. He goes by AI daddy. It's kind of funny. But yeah, me and him have gotten really close, and we've gotten into some deep conversation. We're like, let's have a podcast together, because we talk about art. We talk about, you know, what is art, because he's all into AI and he's about the future. And I'm like, well, you know, hold on a second. I think that there's still something to be appreciated about something that is done by a human. Right. So me and him have those kind of conversations, and that's why I'm curious to get your perspective on that. Because
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, and I get asked this all the time, and I'm sure you do too. And it's a topic of conversation, whether it's at a business meeting or you're sitting around having drinks with friends. AI is a topic of conversation in every single industry that you can imagine. In ours, we can really see what's coming up. We can see they can create people out of nothing. They can change voices. They can create voices. They can AI can edit. It can do this or that. But I go back to what I've always thought is if everybody can do something and it's done easily, it won't be appealing anymore. It'll be appealing for a while, but it won't be appealing for a long time. So what is appealing? What comes from an original human mind and original human hands? And there'll be a market. There'll always, I feel like, and again, I don't have a crystal ball. I feel like there'll always be a market for that. But why ignore AI? You can do both. You can create from your brain and then use AI to supplement, or you can start with AI and then use your brain to advance it even further. So it's definitely not something I'm ignoring, but there are ethical lines there that people will cross. And I feel like viewers, maybe not right away, they will get sick of that.
Yeah. Well, they're starting to put restrictions on it too, right? From what I've heard. Well,
I think anytime you're infringing on somebody's rights, you're taking their likeness.
That's where it gets tricky.
Well, right? I don't know if it's tricky. You're taking their likeness. You're copying it. You're not compensating them for their likeness. That's to me is unethical.
But also, like the way I learned from you when it comes to video marketing, like the way I learned how to do things in this industry is, again, like evoking emotion. And there's something to say about that, about being authentic and just being yourself, especially on camera. Like when you go on set and you're capturing how it is in the lives of, like, say, air condition or pest control company, right? You kind of told me at a young age that it's not about the services they sell. It's about how the person feels when they're buying their product or service, right?
That's right.
So that's kind of, there's something to say about that, is capturing that instead of, like, I feel like there's just something to say about that authenticity, like person to person kind of feel, right?
Yeah, and I think when we're sitting here trying to figure out what viewers will digest, you don't have to look any farther than yourself. You are a viewer. You're a consumer. So how do you consume or view things? There's some things you don't care how they were made or who made them or what they're made of or anything like that. Yeah. But there's other things that, you're like, yeah, I do. I am concerned about how that was made, or I need to make sure that I'm doing business with a reputable person, a reputable service, reputable company. I'll say an auto mechanic, for example. You want to make sure that is a reputable person, and that's always, that's one, or somebody that's really thinking of. They're not just thinking of getting the job done. They're thinking of getting the job done and thinking ahead. Okay, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? How can we make sure you and your family are safe on the road? And I think that's when it comes to storytelling, it's like, it's not, for me, it's not just, for example, we take a project or a campaign in and we go, okay, we're focused on this and this only. No, we're focused on this, how it's going to sell, how it's going to help our clients maybe get a promotion, maybe get noticed by their peers or their superiors. Right. And also, what's coming next? I want to know 2-3 steps ahead what's coming next. So I think it takes some human empathy to really feel that. Now, I'm not taking away from AI at all. I'm not, because I think that you can definitely integrate that into what you're doing. But if you're relying on AI solely to drive you into the future, I think that's dangerous.
I think it helps, right? So, like, for me, I use a lot of tools in my business, and it just helps save time so that we can focus on those things that you were just talking about, right? The big picture, the marketing, right? Like, there's AIs out there that cut up an hour-long podcast of clips, which is amazing, but it just saves so much time. So you can focus on, like, okay, like, that's just a time consuming task. I just wanted to go back for a second because you were talking about the creative process with your clients. Something that I've been wanting to ask you that I forgot to ask you last time is, and it kind of like goes into the sales process, right? When you're in the sales process and you ask the client, what's your goal? What's your overall goal? How do you integrate their goals into your creative process? Like when you start working with the client?
Well, I mean, I always start with an overarching goal that I would guess that they all have, and that's to look good. They want to look, not physically look good, but to look good. They want to take this project or campaign or whatever it might be, something they've worked very hard on, no matter what it is, and I want them to make sure that at the end of this, that they're going to feel good about it. Whether they identify that as a goal or not, that to me is number one. I want them to look at this and be proud of it and come back and go, let's do some more. I want them to go, hey, I got a promotion. Hey, we sold X number of products. Hey, our service, our numbers are going through the roof. That's the number one goal. And after that, it's learning everything. I feel it's our job to learn everything we can about their business. All right. And that doesn't mean asking them. Of course, you ask them the basic questions, but go do some research on your own. I love doing that. And the things I've been able to learn over the last 30 years, I can pretty much have a conversation with anybody about anything on a small level. I'm no expert on anything, but I know a little about a lot, just because I've done so much research and dug in. And most of the times you'll find, oh, this is really, really interesting, and I'll dig in some more. I was just watching a couple of podcasts yesterday from a CEO who was in Davos. I mean, and I'm like, I have to be the biggest nerd watching this, but I was like, man, I'm learning so much from this, and I still get joy out of it all these years later.
To give an example, it's actually funny. Like, that's actually what intrigued me about this industry when you always would bring me on set when I was younger. It's like, wow, I get to experience these cool different things, like an ATV shoot, and then there was like a children's hospital shoot where I got to be in a helicopter.
Oh yeah, you were in a helicopter.
Yeah.
We strapped you to a gurney.
I was a patient, a couple times. But yeah, like that's the thing that intrigued me is like I've learned so much about so many different things. You get to experience something new, I feel like, on set almost every time, right? Which is kind of cool. Or not even just on set, when you're talking to a new CMO about their business and learning about it. Like we just had a shoot with a product company. They're called the Happy Toilet Cleaner, and we literally, I learned like everything about a toilet, like how a toilet works. It's just like, it's just kind of a cool
how to
thing.
Make a toilet cleaner happy.
Yeah. But anyway, it's really about, when you think about it, when you break it down, it's finding out like what is their true desire, and executing.
It's caring. You know, you have to care.
Yeah.
And as a consumer, I want whoever I'm hiring to care about me personally, not just to go, okay, I'm gonna put in a new door and bye. It's like
it's not a one size fits all. It's like customized and like, you know, actually diving into what you want. Right.
We should talk about all the things sets you've been on.
Sets I've been on
with me when you were little. I mean, that one at the Phoenix Children's Hospital, you were like 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
And we strapped you to a gurney. Yeah. And you were such a rule follower. You were strapped to this thing for like an hour. And then we went to take a lunch break, and I'm like, hey, where's my son? And they go, well, he said he can't move until your dad says he can move. He's still laying there on the gurney.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, let's
remember that.
Let's go get him. I mean, we're done. We said cut a long time ago.
Yeah. I was really into my role there. I was really in the character. It was hard for me to snap out of it. So,
well, then we did one with was it video game characters? What was that one?
Oh yeah, Skylanders.
Yeah, Skylanders, and you guys. Yeah, you were just you had your buddies over there, and you were in that. Yeah. That was a national thing that you did too. That was kind of cool. That was a long time ago.
I forgot about that.
You must have been like 10 or 11.
Yeah, I mean that's really where I fell in love with it.
You've been on U-Haul sets, right? Yeah. Well, you were in U-Haul commercials.
Yeah.
You had to paint your hair blonde. Blonder.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was awesome. But but yeah, no, that like, I just want to thank you. I've thanked you a million times, but like just for showing me that.
Well, thanks for the free, the free acting work that you did. So.
I'm happy to do it again, but yeah, no, I mean, it was super fun. And then like, there's something about it, like putting the story together, being on set and like seeing how much work goes into it, because that's another thing I don't think people understand is like when I was younger, I did not realize, like, I thought it was just you point a camera because they make it look so simple on TV, right? Yeah. People really don't know how much even today, they still don't know how much goes into it,
Yeah, and you can do it two or three different ways. You can number 1 and 2 are the simple ways where you cut corners and you're going to get video, you're going to get audio, but there's something about doing it the right way. Just like in anything that you do, there's something about doing it the right way that will have more of an effect. You always get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. And that is so true in everything in life. I believe you get what you pay for. If you want the low budget thing, you're going to get, that's the eyeballs you're going to get. If you want to do the high budget thing and do it right, you're going to get tons of eyeballs on your products or on your services. Right. And that is just the way it's been since the beginning. And I think that's the way it'll always be, Yeah. Doesn't mean you have to pay top high end to get it done. Just find somebody who takes this very, very seriously. Yeah. And when they say we need another light here, don't question them. Yeah. They want another light because they want you to look good. They want your product to look good. They want it to stand out. Yeah. They want people to take notice. Well, there's just so much content out there right now. Yeah. And you want to make sure that yours is standing out.
Absolutely. And there's just levels to it. Mm-hmm. Like when you see something, when you're scrolling through, something captures your eyeballs, you just know, like you don't know, like we probably know what it is that captures their attention, but the normal person scrolling through doesn't, because a lot of times it's just so subtle. But people who have been in this for a while and probably charge more, right, know this type of stuff, how to capture eyeballs. And it's really like comes down to like subtle things too.
Well, it's our job to think of those subtle things. Yeah. For example, I go back to U-Haul and a U-Haul commercial. To me, everything about a U-Haul or moving in a commercial, nothing should be chaotic. And I've seen other moving companies where there's chaos going on. Yeah. Everything, if you watch any of our U-Haul commercials, everything is like this. Everything is just very calm, and it's shot like this. And we even have squares in the background, tiles. We made sure that is one of those subtle things where in the background of the scene you see tiles too. So it's a calming effect. Yeah. Okay. You watch one of my favorite commercials out there right now. We didn't do it. Is a Kia commercial where they talk about the people shooting hoops in their front yard, and it's a car commercial, and it's brilliantly done, and it's a perfect example of storytelling. Yeah. And anybody watching that I don't think the average person would know why they're so drawn to it. But the reason there's a mix of mediums. There's video and there's photo mixed in. There's a little bit of handheld, but it's purposeful. There's some stuff that's still, but everything is for a reason. It takes you on a journey. And if you watch that commercial, it's brilliant storytelling, and it's been on for like 3 years now. And there's a reason, because it's working.
Right. That really brought up something for me, because something that I don't want to say struggle with, but something that I encounter, I guess, is when a client comes to me and they say like, hey, I want to make sure I tell them all the information. And I say, wait a second. Like sometimes another thing is like not telling them all the information, right? And leaving them guessing or wanting to learn more, or maybe not putting this light there, right? Because here's the reason: it's not motivated, or they think that they need more, I find, rather than pushing it back. They want to tell the audience everything.
It's a great point. People are tied to their products or their services, and they want to make sure all the info is getting out there, and there's no questions left unanswered. That to me is not the way to do advertising. Yeah. You want to first and foremost focus on emotions. What emotions are you evoking? Emotions from the viewers. Secondly, you get in as much information as you can in the short amount of time, and then the thing we're doing is pushing them to go, for the viewer to go see more. Yes. Go to their website, call them, Most of the time it's going to be going to their website though and learning more. And that's where you can give them even more information, go deep dive. You know, you can go websites, you can go into white papers. You can, if they want to go that deep.
That goes back to like the goals, right? Like finding out their goals. Is your goal to tell them everything? No, it's not. You want them to buy your product. In order to buy their product, they have to go to your page. For example, like, you know, they have to go to your page. So you don't want to tell them all the information right away, because then they're going to know, right? So it's like really diving into that and listening to us, right? Because we know that stuff.
Going back to that Kia commercial, like, I don't know anything about a Kia, but I want to learn more, because that commercial, I don't even know if they talk about the features of a Kia in that commercial. Yeah. I just like the vibe that they've created.
Right. It's the feeling you get from buying the product. Yeah. Right. It's the emotion. Yeah.
We are not sponsored by Kia, by the way. Right?
No.
This
not
podcast.
Yet. Not yet.
Okay. We should be sponsored by Kia. Or you should be. This is your podcast.
Oh God. So what are some other, because I know there's like brand recall, right? And I know you taught at ASU film school, right? So you know a lot of
years. No, not at film school, at the journalism school.
So even
taught documentary, taught storytelling, visual storytelling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know a lot about marketing too, I think, and I want to pick your brain on like the psychological elements of marketing, because we've only talked about emotions, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. So could you maybe give some examples of like maybe what kind of emotions, what you like to hit?
Yeah. Well, I was talking. I was talking earlier about the U-Haul commercials. I'll just go back to that. You know, when U-Haul came out with their U-Box and we did their national commercial for that, their competition, who I will not name, had a commercial out already, and that commercial showed their product spinning and the people going to the next, you know, to their home to supposedly show like how easy it is. Oh, you just put your stuff in this thing and then boop, and then you're gone. Yeah. And to me, it's like, what? This thing's spinning. I mean, moving's already stressful enough. Now this thing's gonna, you know, it's showing. So the emotion that we pitched to U-Haul was calm. Yeah. Very calm. We want to make, you know, move at your own pace, move slowly. This was what their product is all about. And so everything in that commercial was calm, and whether people knew what the product was or got the specs of the product or whatever, that wasn't the thing. It's like, if you use this service or this product, it's going to be a calmer move for you.
Well, I think the mistake that the other company made the other commercial made was
style over substance.
Yeah, well, I think that when you're creating something, sometimes you think about, oh, we're doing a lot to make your life easy, so we're going to show you how much we're doing, rather than saying, no, this is not for the worker. This is for the viewer. This is what the viewer's going to feel when they buy your product. And that's especially in the corporate industry, man. Like, they always want to show, like, this is how much we're doing to make your life easy. Look at this. No, it's not for that. It's for the viewer, you know? And that's so important for people to understand. I run into that all the time, you know?
Yeah, and you talk about emotions. There's other, you know, identifying what emotion there's some things, a lot of things we do that are shown to a captive audience, for example, for the big Fortune 100 companies that we work for. You know, they'll be shown to a captive audience at a big conference. Right. For that one, we want people to get, you know, very, very excited during that, and get excited about, be proud. Pride would be the word I would say there. We want them to feel proud about what they're doing and the company they're working for. Mm-hmm. Then when that project goes external instead of internal, when it goes external, then we'll tweak it more for the audience, you know, because the audience is going to be outside of their company. So there's different things to think about there. What emotions are we hitting on? It's so important, and it makes it so much more fun. I think, when you can really identify the emotions, because if we're putting something together and we're starting to feel those emotions, you've nailed it, you know.
When you send a video to a client, have you ever had to like make tweaks after you see, okay, maybe this isn't performing as well as we thought it would? Have you ever tried to or have you ever had to make tweaks to the edit?
Absolutely, yeah.
Talk about that.
And like you said, we're a digital agency plus a production agency, right? So we're following the full life cycle the marketing campaign or whatever it might be. So, but for video, you say, have we ever had to make tweaks? Of course.
Yeah.
I can just think of one a couple of months ago, actually, and this was for Phoenix Theater Company. We did a promo for one of their shows, and the show was not selling right away. And I took a look at the promo, and we all huddled together, and I'm like, okay, I think this is. We tried to look at it as a viewer. And I'm like, I think this is why this isn't selling so well, and tweaking the messaging, tweaking the way it's shown, and it worked.
Yeah,
it worked. Just of course, yes, I love that. It has to work. If we're seeing something, because what we think might work. Maybe it does work for a little bit of time, but after that, it might get repetitive. And I've seen commercials like that where the first couple of times you watch them, you're like, "Wow, this is great," and then they're not digestible for multiple amounts of time. But there's like the Jake from State Farm. That thing ran for 11 years or something like that, and that was very digestible. So,
so have you ever
But they even tweaked that after a while. They changed the guy. They changed,
Yeah. Well, yeah. So has there ever been a commercial where you're you've made it, you created it, you spent a bunch of time on it with your team, with your editing team, and you're like, this is it. You are this is such a good commercial. I cannot wait to put this out. And then it doesn't work and you have to make the tweak. Has that ever happened?
Well, I think just the example I gave you is the most recent example. I can't really, but
it happens, right?
I'll say this. We're never going to settle. We're never going to settle. We're never going to go, oh, too bad that's not working. It's just not. We have a commercial running right now, and I won't name it. There's a shot in there that drives me crazy.
Oh my
I can't stand it. But it's not, that it's doing well, and it drives me nuts, this one shot in it. But it's doing well, and everybody's happy with it, and the client is seeing results, so that's okay.
Yeah. It all goes down to the results, right?
Yeah.
I think, and that's what we pay attention to.
I'd like to change that one shot, though.
Yeah.
I would like to.
I'm a pretty analytical person myself. That. And I think of that. There's always something that's going to annoy me. That's not how I want it to be, but as long as the results are coming, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many people who make things look cool nowadays, especially with this, videographers coming out. They're filming events and they're filming this and that. One man band, and they're maybe trying to make things look cool, posting on the internet for likes, cool editing effects. But is that going to produce the results?
Well, listen, like I said, I've been doing this over 30 years, and I've seen what used to take 50 people to do, it went down to 30. Then what took 30 people to do, it went down to 20. Yeah. Now, what used to take 20. So it keeps, technology helps reduce the amount of people that it takes to do things.
Yeah. No, but I think a lot of people think that it takes only one person to do something, when a lot of the times it is a collective effort, because they want a simple look, but a lot of the times to make a natural, simple look, you actually need more people to make it authentic and real life, right? Because that's your job, right? Is to make it look real and resonate with the viewer.
And there's only so much there's only so much that one person can do. Yeah. Also, no, I'm not saying that a one-man band is bad. I'm not at all. But you go into I don't know if this is a good analogy, but you go into a kitchen. You got the chef. You can be at a 5-star restaurant. You got the chef. Maybe he's in there, or she's in there. Maybe he or she isn't. But the chef's not working alone.
Yeah.
It takes a team. It takes a team to create
something.
And everything is better with a team. And it takes a leader. I think it takes somebody with a vision, and teaching people how to capture that vision.
So have you ever had, I run into this a lot. I know you're not really in the sales process anymore, but back then maybe. But have you ever run into a client that's can you just send one person down to do this?
Well, listen, of course we have that happen quite often. Well, why do you need this person? Why do you need this? Maybe why do you need that piece of equipment? Why do you need, in anything that we do, whether it's copywriting, whether it's graphic design, whether it's whatever it might be. It's like, and our answer to that is, from our experience, there's a great risk if we cut corners here.
Yeah.
And we don't want to sacrifice the chance at your success. And really, that's because it costs us money too to use more people. So, but we're also not going to cut corners.
And it's your reputation too.
That's right. We're never going to cut corners to achieve something, because more times than not, success will not happen. There's a really big risk of something going wrong.
But you're right, though. It is taking less and less people, when you think about it, to do tasks nowadays with the technology.
And that's fine. If it takes the amount of people that it takes, it takes the amount of equipment that it takes. But we should know, we are the experts in this, and we should know and be honest with our clients about what it's going to take, and not be afraid to say, you know what, I'm going to pass on that, because what you're asking me to do could jeopardize your project. It might go well, but there's a chance it might not. And we always, one of our core values here is being ready for the curve. And we always want to be ready for the curve. I mean, I can give you an example. We were on a shoot. Our team was on a shoot in Toronto just a few weeks ago in Toronto, Canada. And we had the right amount of crew there. And the director of photography, for reasons I won't say, wasn't able to get onto the tarmac to shoot what he was supposed to shoot.
Okay.
But we had backup plans, and we had the right amount of people there, and it was no problem. Slide on in. This person can take care of that at this point. And so just imagine if that wasn't staffed correctly.
Yeah.
It would have been not good.
I talk a lot about being over-prepared too.
Over-prepared.
I mean, that you kind of like ingrain that into my brain.
Well, it makes everything more fun, being over-prepared.
Well, like even if it's just like a test at school or a meeting you're going into, like I'm always over-prepared, I think, because of you tell me that. And it's like you just feel more comfortable going into it.
Absolutely.
And I think for marketing executives watching this, it's like when you're hiring a video production company or an agency, you have to pay attention to those things. How prepared are they? Because there's always something that goes wrong on set.
Sure.
Me and you have been, way longer than me, but me and you have been on a lot of film sets. We know almost every single time there's something, even if it's just little, there's something that happens. Right. And there's something to say about a video production company that is over-prepared, because when you are over-prepared, you're comfortable, you're more comfortable, you're more confident. You can focus on the things that you need to focus on as a director or a director of photography. When you know and you have that belief that everything is in order, you can focus on what you need to focus on and execute the vision better.
I'd much rather have anybody that's working for me in anything that they do take the proper amount of time to prepare, and I would pay them for that. I give an example, like if somebody's going to come redo my front yard, okay, and turn it into a desert landscape from grass. If they just come in there and they go, oh yeah, we can do that. They just come in there and start tearing stuff up, and doing it. It might go okay, but I'm going to be nervous the whole time. Yeah. Now, if they've prepared and they've come to me and they've shown me the plans and they said, this is how it's going to work, and here's the steps, here's how many days it's going to take, here's when we'll be done, here's the watering plan, whatever. If they give me all that, I'm completely relaxed, which is why in our business and what we do is we make sure our clients know how long something's going to take. We give them a realistic deadline. If it's a shoot, we give them everything, all the info beforehand that they would need, all the way down to what time lunch is, where are the bathrooms, every single last detail, so they can just relax. And I feel like you're talking to executives or anybody that might be hiring a production company, if they're not getting that, then boy, they're getting underserved.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to say about a video production company that comes to you and says, look, like this is our schedule. And I've even had feedback to where people are like, wow, like I was not expecting this much to go into it. And it's like, yeah, like that's that's another part of like impressing them too, is like saying, yeah, we have this in order. We know where everyone's going to be at what time, you know, down to the T, right? Because if you just go on set and you wing it, that just opens up the possibilities for more things to go wrong, and that's just doing a disservice to the client.
They need to know what you're doing, when you're going to be doing it, why you're doing it, how long you're going to be doing it, all that stuff. I always talk about, you know, my life and, you know, how I hire people, and I gave the landscaping example, but just imagine you're putting a pool in, okay, and they know how to make a pool or put a pool in. But if you don't know when they're coming, you don't know when they're going, they're still there at 9 o'clock at night, drilling away or whatever it might be, or digging a hole. You don't know when it's going to be built. You don't know, you haven't collaborated with them to pick out the right materials that you want or the design. Yeah. If all that is true, then I wouldn't pay for that.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good point, and that made me think about how that relates to video marketing is ROI. I think it's a big, touchy subject, especially like we're talking to marketing executives. And it's like they want to know the ROI. And I think marketing is one of the toughest things to show ROI in, especially like video marketing. I personally have a process for that. I'm curious on what you do to show the ROI and say, hey, this is the money you're going to get, or not, maybe not just money, but here are the eyeballs you're going to get. What's your process for that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what project it is or what campaign it is. You know, we don't promise anything. First of all, we don't, because if we don't have vision into it, but we can lean on experience and say, okay, I just did this yesterday. The last time we did a campaign like this, here are the KPIs that came out of that. Here's, you know, so, and again, saying, I'm just telling you what the past shown, so we know what worked in the past. Will that work now? I don't know, but from my experience, it looks like it will. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for us digging on the past, we've been in business almost 20 years. So, being able to you know, dig into what has worked, what hasn't worked, and always staying on top of it too. We're always looking at, did that work? Didn't it work?
Right.
If it did work, why? If it didn't work, why didn't it work?
So do you ever dig into like their, like even like as deep as like their sales conversions?
We ask our clients. Yeah. We make it a point to ask our clients, is this working? If it is, and I'm often shocked at how many clients I don't know if they don't track their KPIs, or there's somebody else tracking the KPIs, but it doesn't spill down to the marketing team. I can't believe that's the case, but for the ones who do, we ask them, is this working? If so, how is it working? You know, it's a lot different, for example, when it's a social media campaign. We are the ones responsible for tracking those numbers. Yeah. We want to see what's working. We're tracking them weekly, monthly, and that's where the real tweaking comes in, because if things aren't working there, we're tweaking. Mm-hmm. All right. That is a very trackable thing.
Where are you at in life, and where do you see the world heading, and what is your final message to everyone?
Gosh, we could have a whole podcast of where I see the world heading, and you know, I'm an optimist. I always have been, so I'm optimistic about where the world's heading. But there's a lot of bad stuff happening out there, but there's also a lot of good stuff. And I'm glad you asked this, because one of my favorite things to do, I don't go online very much. Mm-hmm. I go and meet with people face to face, from all walks of life, from all political and religious backgrounds. And I talk to them face to face. And I travel. Mm-hmm. And that's when you travel, you just start to see, you know what, we're all pretty much alike. Yeah. Really at the core of everything, we're hardworking people who want to do the right thing for the most part. The bad stuff gets reported a lot. Yeah. So I'm optimistic because I get out there and I talk to people and I meet people. I want, I always want everybody to get along, and I know that's not like, possible, but, I'm excited about the future of our industry. We talk a lot about AI here. I'm not scared by it. I've never been scared of any technology that's come along. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I've seen technology come and go, and some of it stays and some of it doesn't. But I think it's very important to embrace it. And stick true to the core principles of what we do.
Yeah. And I think there's so many technological advances out there, but I don't think anything ever is going to beat authenticity and, just like you said, like face-to-face contact. And there's studies to show that too. Like, they say the biggest contributor to long living people is the amount of close friends that they have and friendships. And I think that that's like always going to be there, no matter how advanced technology gets. People are always going to need that authentic feeling. People are always going to feel emotions. And there's always going to be those core needs that people will have. So that's kind of, I think.
Just be real. That's my message.
Just be real.
Be real.
And I think that's a good final message. So wrapping up here. So where can people find you?
Okay. My company is Manley Creative, Manley, as you've probably had to tell people, Manley Creative. And we're at manleycreative.com. That's where you can find us.
Awesome. Manley Creative.
Thank you very much for having me on.